Good evening, everyone. You're watching Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing talk show. My name is Christian Karasevich, CEO and founder of socialchefs.com. We're a digital agency, been in business since about 2006, and we've got a great show for you this week. We're going to be joined by Phil Gerbishak here in a couple of minutes, but we also have this week's guest. Our guest is Gail, and she goes by Raven Gail on Twitter. And this is episode 168. So we've got a lot of great topics we want to talk about tonight with you. I'm going to pop in, say a quick hello, and then we're going to kick off the show. Hey guys, how are you? So I want to thank you for joining us this evening, wherever you're located. You know, we like to keep you updated on what's new in social media for the week. There's always a lot of news. You know, it's not just like, things that, oh, hey, Twitter released this, small minor update to their app. And, it's not really applicable to your business. See, the whole thing is, we do this because we want to help you as a business owner. And we want you to be able to take these items, these actionable items, and begin to apply them in your business, or at least start thinking about them if they're coming out soon. So this week, I'm going to bring Gail on here, but, we've got she came to me through, I think it was Jessica Phillips, another guest we've had on the show, and so I'm going to bring Gail on, have her say a quick hello, introduce herself. But she comes highly recommended. So good morning, Gail. How are you doing? Or good evening, actually.
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Back here in the backstage part of Be Live. But tell everybody about yourself.
So like Christian said, I'm Gail. And I do have a Twitter account that's under Raven Gail. It's the original Twitter account that I've had for a really long time. But the active Twitter account is actually Legacy Recorder, which is my entrepreneurial venture and what I'm working on building, where I'm building my empire. So the Legacy Recorder is working with people to help them tell their life stories, regardless of age, ability, and perceived importance. And it's really helping families and facilities and caretakers help people tell their stories one page at a time in simple, easy to use methods. So basically, I've gone through and created something that you can use with or without my help and work with someone to tell their life story, whether you like using a book, whether you like using e-courses, you can get it in an email, however you like to consume your content and learn things. I have done that for you. I'm working on making it better, but I have a YouTube channel that I think is pretty cool. And you can find lots of things about that over there. And I've spent 3 years building the legacy world, and you can find it on pretty much every platform. I have not done Snapchat yet with it, but I'm everywhere else. So
very cool. I didn't know about your Legacy Recorder, so thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we've got a lot of topics we want to talk about with everyone tonight. We'll bring Phil on once he becomes available. Where do you want to start? Is there anything in particular you're like, hey, I think we should cover this first. We should cover that one. Where's your wheelhouse, basically?
So I'm just figuring out. I think I like Instagram. I really do enjoy the stories. I've enjoyed showcasing other people. I'm not going to claim a wheelhouse on any of it. I claim my wheelhouse in the storytelling aspect. So I just use what I know to help other people leverage those platforms rather than trying to specialize in a platform.
No, that sounds good. And here's the thing. I actually think that makes a lot of sense, because here's the thing. A lot of people, they say, hey, I'm I'm an expert in this. And we don't like to use the term expert because no one is an expert. No one is a guru. We don't like to use the term guru. We had Vincent Orlick on last week. Nobody's a guru. Nobody knows everything there is about a platform. What they do is, they figure out how it works, and then they start to, be able to apply it, and how it can actually help people. So,
and then they're changing so fast.
It's ridiculous how quick everything changes these days.
And then the knowledge is obsolete, and you have to start over again with some of it. So
do you have any advice, by the way, for viewers on something like that? Knowing that everything changes just so rapidly. How do they keep up with that?
I would just, I like picking the things that I enjoy using as a user. And if you're using platforms to help generate more business, try to generate income, then I would just be really intentional about where my audience is and
Okay.
spend my time there, but also recognize that it's rented. The space is
Mhm.
rented. You have no guarantee of it being there tomorrow or of the, tactics and strategies you've been using for the last year or the last month even will work when they change the algorithm.
Mhm.
So,
Definitely.
I'm looking at you, Zaki, but like you just knowing your craft and knowing what you're doing, regardless of what
Mhm.
platform you're on, you should be fine. So that's
Definitely.
my advice when I'm training clients. I do consulting. I do
Mhm.
training on helping brick and mortar businesses bridge the online
Mhm.
gap because of where I live. There's a lot of companies that are still just getting online and just starting to use
Mhm.
Facebook.
Definitely.
So it's just, for me, it's reminding people that you're just throwing your pebbles into a really big ocean and you're
Mhm.
hoping that the ripples at some point will hit the right people
Right.
and then they'll come back to you. And they do. I mean, it happens. We've heard it happen. Like, you've heard those stories of people that are like, oh my gosh, I've been like listening to you for a year. And like all of a sudden they show up
Mhm.
and they spend like $2,000 and you
Mhm.
didn't even know who they were. So
No.
it happens.
Definitely. And the thing with all of that, and here's the thing with all of that, kind of like what you just said there. I mean, for starters, there's a lot of businesses that still are not social. For them, a lot of them are just getting started with it, or hey, they've been doing it, but their approach has been the wrong approach. They've been taking, as you mentioned, things are not like stationary. It's not like, oh, I learned how to do this, and all of a sudden, hey, that's exactly how it's going to be. Everything changes just so rapidly. So you do have to keep track of what's going on and be willing to adjust your strategy. You have to be quick. You have to be nimble. And as you mentioned, a lot of places also, just getting online, they aren't necessarily doing the right tactics sometimes. There's a lot of tactics out there that can be
Right.
useful. So, I think that's really valuable information.
And just be
So
ready to throw it all out the window and start over.
ex- exactly
And it's
right.
okay.
And here's the thing, that can actually be a mindset shift for a lot of people, to have to kind of internalize and be like, hey, I tried this and now I have to actually make some adjustments. So if you want to take your business anywhere, you do have to be just adaptable, I think we'd like to say.
Yeah.
So I want to thank everybody who's joining us tonight. I see we've got some new people. We've got Yelda, we've got Jenny, we've got Monique, we've got Joanne, we've got Jennifer. Thank you so much for joining. And Jennifer
I
just
brought
said,
my peeps.
hey, I appreciate that. Actually, you have to be nimble, definitely. So for those of you watching, do us a favor, hit that share button, or if you want in the comments to @tag somebody, just type @ in the person's name. That'll notify them. Hit that share button, invite your friends. Again, this show is not for us, it's for you. We want to help you as a business. So the first topic, you mentioned this briefly. We talked about YouTube stories. So I think we should start with YouTube stories.
Okay.
Or sorry. Yeah, let's start with YouTube stories here.
That works.
This, I think, is going to be a quick one, only because, hey, and this has a little bit of an Instagram play to it. And the fact is, and by the way, Jen Leonard, sorry, I might have mispronounced your name there. Sorry. Thanks for joining, by the way. And this is funny. We've got a whole bunch of Jens on. So maybe you all can co-host the show sometime. So, so let's talk about the first topic. We've got YouTube rolling out Instagram-like stories, and this is for creators. You mentioned you're a big stories user, or you try to use the platform on Instagram.
I wouldn't say big user, but yeah.
What do you think about the idea of every platform having stories nowadays?
So I just listened to your episode where you guys were talking about LinkedIn having stories, and I think since we already know that each platform, we all use it for different things. Like there's, the B2B audience is on one, the BDC audience is on one. Everyone consumes content differently on each platform. So I think having the stories, I'm interested to see how the people who have been using, or who originally started using stories on, what is it, Snapchat that started with them?
It was it was Snapchat. Yes.
It was, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So Snapchat started with stories, and watching the evolution of how people use stories from platform to platform, and how I'm interested to see how they change their content to
Mhm.
adapt to that audience on YouTube, because we know it's not the same audience as who's on Instagram, because they're consuming the content differently. So I'm interested to see how the vloggers and the people that have been, consistently using YouTube adapt their content to be able to use stories.
Yeah, and the thing is, the stories feature basically, it's just like Instagram stories, just like Snapchat stories, just like LinkedIn stories, which was just last week, which is pretty crazy. WhatsApp also has stories here where I'm currently at. Um, the thing with YouTube stories, you do have, it's being rolled out to creators. You have to have more than 10,000 subscribers, which means, hey, it's going to rule out a lot of people. But I will say this. And if Phil was on, for instance, right now, he would probably, he's not down with YouTube stories. Doesn't see he doesn't think it's going to be that applicable at the moment. But I think that it could be, because the way this is going to work is you're going to have your stories aspect, but you can also reply in comments using stories, and that's the part to me I think that's going to be very valuable for people, because it's going to help. At least I hope that businesses will do this, that they will tap into it and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to actually let people into my world. And I'm kind of interested to see how this works for YouTube, because a lot of people that run YouTube channels are not very, like, they're this big personality,
Right.
but at the same time, they're not actually very personal people in most cases, with their content. For instance, they mainly just care like, hey guys, I made this video. They want you to subscribe. They don't necessarily care about interacting with their audience unless it's for the sake of money,
Right.
which to me, I'm pretty certain of this, so I'm very interested to see how that part's going to play out. Because, it does mean, hey, you have to be on camera. You have to be more on camera than you already are. And you got to go in and reply to people via video, basically. So I wonder how much authenticity is going to be there in their stories, because a lot of channels are run by other people. Like, you've got a person that's a face, but hey, they're not doing their content.
Right.
They've got a whole team that's managing that when you get to those sizes in most cases.
And they're managing the engagement too. So that will be interesting. That part will be, I wonder if it'll force the creators to actually then engage like in a more intentional way, which would be cool.
Definitely think so. I think that definitely think that it's going to force that hand probably a little bit. What do you think, by the way, from a stories usage standpoint? So for example, I see Monique here, she's saying, hey, she fights stories all the time. Monique, can you kind of elaborate on that? Like, are you challenged by like coming up with different content for each type of
she's
story?
Actually saying that Jenny fights stories all the time. Monique does stories.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
These are all my girlfriends.
No, it's all good. No, it's all good. No, definitely, totally.
I haven't been doing video stories. I've been doing so I've been using my Instagram stories to spotlight other accounts. So like spotlight people that I think are basically, I don't know, referral isn't the right word, but spotlighting other people's content in my stories rather than doing video stories. I have not mastered that by any means on the video stories. So I totally get where Jenny's coming from.
Okay.
On that, but yeah.
How would you suggest that people use stories across different platforms? For example, you have YouTube stories. Last week was LinkedIn stories. We have Instagram stories, Snapchat stories, and who can forget Facebook stories as well. Like, it's like layer upon layer upon layer of content.
Yeah, I like the idea of stories from a micro level. So I feel like when we are creating content, we're looking at a macro level, and we're looking at the big stuff and feeling like it's really hard to put this content together. But what I've found freeing about using stories is that it is this micro content of like real quick hit, like, oh my gosh, I saw this and I want to share it with you. I don't have to post it to my timeline. I can post it to my story. You can consume it if you want to, and then it starts different. For me, it started different conversations and different engagements that weren't there before. So that's been really cool. So I think across the platforms, and thank you, Monique, shout outs. Yes, shout outs is what I was thinking of. But across the platforms, like being able to look at your content at a micro level and pull out one snippet and take the 30 seconds or however much time you have in the story piece, not 30 minutes, 30 seconds, story pieces, and talk about it at a micro level, which is cool. And it definitely makes us now, I loved Twitter. Twitter was my favorite platform for forever and ever and ever. And then they switched to 280 characters. And it killed me. Like, I loved writing in 140 characters. I had a weekly writing chat for Legacy Chat, and it was telling one page of your story 140 characters at a time. It was epic. And we would go through and answer like 9 questions, and at the end I'd make you summarize the whole story that you had just written in 140 characters. And it's really hard, and like totally reframes how you think about your content and what you're putting out there and your wording. So I think that's what stories have done for content creators, is it makes you really have to be intentional about what you're putting out. So I think with those YouTubers and people who have been using YouTube like that, and you know, if we want to segue into Instagram, that the stories have forced people to reframe their content.
Definitely. And, you know, and Joanne, I'm looking at all the comments here. You know, Joanne says, you know, hey, you know, that, you know, Chelsea Pike, who's been on before, she predicts, you know, Facebook's eventually going to become all stories. Definitely think so. I mean, everything is moving towards the direction of stories. But, you know, as you just mentioned, Gail, that like, you know, everything also has to, you have to be very succinct with what you're doing. So you are going to have to put some time into that strategy, coming up with different types of content, you know, thinking like, you know, hey, what, like, and there is no right or wrong way to use stories necessarily. I mean, you can use it one way, you know, in one instance. If you're a business and you have other parts of your content, you know, you can use stories another way as well. So there's definitely a lot there. By the way, good news, Phil is actually here as well. So I'm going to bring Phil on real quick. Phil, we're going to say a quick hello. We're wrapping up stories here. How you doing, Phil?
Hey, I'm great. Wrapping up stories is fantastic. I think you guys have had some great conversation. No right or wrong way to use it. Absolutely agree. And yeah, to those who said that Facebook stories are going to be all Facebook, I couldn't agree more. I think that makes sense. People aren't going to your walls anyway, so why not check out your stories?
Definitely. So where do you want to go next, Gail?
Let's see.
So we did YouTube stories, you know, and by the way, so with that, you know, while you're kind of thinking, you have to have 10,000 subscribers or more. So great, it's going to rule out a lot of people at the moment. They're going to stay up for 7 days on the mobile app. They're going to appear for subscribers and non-subscribers. They'll show up in the What's Up, the Up Next sidebar next to your videos. You'll have the option to reply to stories in comments, you know, very Instagram-like, but very good feature. I think I like the engagement part. To me, that's the key thing. I like the fact that you can reply in stories there in comments. But where do you want to go next?
Well, let's roll into Instagram stories, unless you feel like we've covered that enough.
No, totally. We could totally cover Instagram stories. I don't think we've covered that enough because Instagram is always looking to grow and always come out with new features. So what's this new feature that we have on Instagram?
Oh, sharing with close friends and like being selective and having, I'm really excited about it because you can have the public account, you can have the business account, but still have, for me, have multi-purpose with it. And use it as a personal account too, which that's what I was excited about with it.
So basically the feature, you know, it's Instagram's new close friends and list, you know, and if some of these features seem very familiar, they're very similar to ones that Facebook already had. So basically you can build a close friends list on Instagram. And then when you go in your Instagram stories to share some content, you're going to see a nice green icon at the bottom. You can tap that and it's going to share your Instagram stories with that close friends list. Very simple. Phil, what do you think about this feature, by the way? I'm going to play it here, show you guys how easy it is to use.
Yeah, I mean, I like any feature that gives us list view, right? List who to post to. That's one of the things I think that Twitter got completely wrong. I would like to be able to say who to post it to. I want to go to my social chefs buddies. I want to go to Gail and Christian, right? I don't want to go to everybody. This might be relevant. This might not be, right? So I think this is really smart, especially if they make it easy to pick the list. That's really the key here. Close friends at first, sure. Most stuff public. I mean, I'm an all public all the time kind of guy, but that's only because I don't have an easy way to make it better. So I think this is fantastic. I think this also really helps our demographic here of, okay, again, if you're a small business owner, if you like, if it's the left-handed Polish people, then it goes here. If it's the right-handed people who like white wine, it goes here. I think that's really great. And so great step for Instagram. Again, kick Twitter's butt. Twitter should have done this hundreds of years ago. It makes me sad for Twitter and happy for Instagram.
Gail, what do you think, by the way? Well, I'm back here managing a couple of things. What do you think?
So that would have been cool on Twitter. I had no problem being public all the time on Twitter. Being on Twitter was really freeing too, because I felt like, I could say sort of off the wall things without it having a huge impact maybe on, brand, until things change later. But I have kids, and I'm friending people on Facebook for business stuff, and I wouldn't normally share like my kids' pictures with like the whole world. I don't usually post that stuff on my timeline. So I actually went through on my Instagram feed and deleted all of my kids' pictures off of there when I switched my original Instagram account to a business account. And so for me, being able to have those curated lists of who I can share with means that I can feel a little more personal on my Instagram. And then if I want to share it, be a little more personal with it, and intentional with who I'm sharing with, which I think is really cool. Because for me, it would build that relationship in a different way, and kind of not necessarily VIP status, but if I reach a level with someone in a business relationship where we're becoming more friends, then it would be an easy way to share more of my personal life without sharing it to the whole world.
So you slowly would migrate people over, Gail? Maybe from like ultra acquaintance to kind of acquaintance to friend to inner circle. Is that right?
Yeah. So like some of the ladies that are actually commenting away and sending me love and sharing, these are women that I met. Some of them I met on Blab, like way back when.
Cool.
And so I've spent a lot of my life the last 3 years on, like, we're online friends, but I just met most of them, like all of them, I think, for the first time in October in Chicago at Brilliance and Badassery. And they're my friends. Like when people say, "Hey, what are you doing today?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm having coffee with my friends." I just left out the part that we're all hanging out on Zoom.
Cool.
Like where before it was like we were on Blab, and like that's where I met these women. So yeah, so they have, they started as people I didn't really know, and then moved into, okay, we're like colleagues, like we're professionals, we're working together, and now like they are who I go to share, when things are great. They're who I celebrate with. They're who I go to when I'm sad. And, I like sharing my family with them. So yeah, there are people that migrate in.
Cool.
Not everyone.
Yeah, no, of course, right? Not everybody kind of graduates up the chain. That's interesting. Right. Well, Yalda says, sometimes you want to post biz stuff, but not bombard your family. Now, that's interesting, Yalda. Right. I have to tell you, my family doesn't know what I do anyway, so I'm a reverse stripper, for those of you who don't know. I get paid to put my clothes back on. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really do that, but it might as well be for what my family knows, right? They have no stinking clue what I do. So I think that's interesting that happens, and my challenge is that my family, even when I do post it, they don't know what it is. Right. So I think that's an awesome idea, Yalda. I think that's fascinating that you have any family that actually, you have a better family than me, I guess, because my family doesn't care, right? Or they don't get it. So that's interesting to that. And then Katie Miller says that she's way more conservative on Facebook than I am on Instagram or Snap. And I would ask Katie, I'm curious, and as you answer that, I'm going to ask Gail a question. Is that because of the impermanence of it, because it doesn't last forever, or just because that's who you are, right? Are you a stories gal? Because I know you are on Snapchat, and I know you do a lot of Instagram stories. So I'm curious about that. So Gail, what about you? I mean, do you feel that you're more conservative in one place or the other, or are you wild and crazy everywhere?
I'm definitely, oh man, I'm definitely more conservative on Facebook. And part of it has to do with my target audience for legacy. So for Legacy Recorder, I'm working with people who are anywhere from 45 and up, and the majority of them are in their 60s and their 70s. And I'm connecting with people who are on boards, they're executives, so I'm pretty conservative for my personality and how I am in real life. I'm pretty conservative across online platforms just because that's part of that branding and wanting to stay true to that without being I can't come up with the right words, not genuine.
Like inauthentic, right?
Right. And yeah. So to use inauthentic, like I'm still myself. I'm just a slightly watered down version, like slightly more professional. I kind of act like I'm on LinkedIn, like everywhere.
Interesting. That's really interesting that you do that. Yeah.
Except for the impermanence part. So like Snapchat, yeah, I have a little more fun on Snapchat. I have a little more fun on other platforms. So it's just when it comes to the business stuff and it comes to using these platforms for engaging with potential audience, my potential audience is everywhere. So I kind of mind my P's and Q's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That's so interesting because, you know, I guess I don't really think about it as far as me. I think about who my audience is, right? Like on LinkedIn, my audience is definitely a little more buttoned up. On Facebook, I think they're a little more into the personal side, and on Twitter, I guess it's kind of everything. And I'm not really good on Snapchat or Instagram, so that's interesting how that works. But like tonight, I have to say, like I was at an event. And the most fun picture that I got was a blurry picture with my buddy who was totally, his eyes were closed, and it was a fun, just a fun picture. But I would never post it on LinkedIn, right? I think, that's probably not going to work. So that's really interesting. Katie says her personality isn't different, but she's never wild. She just doesn't share as openly on Facebook because of the people that are there. So I think that's interesting. Perhaps lists will change that, right? Perhaps lists will say, you know what, I don't want to post for my husband and my pastor and my dog this stuff, and I do want to post this stuff. So I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know. I guess I platform select, right? I do that because it's audience selection more than it is me.
And I'd also say that the experience online for me is different than the experience online for you. And the expectation of how we engage online and how we're perceived as we engage online is different. And the reactions and the consequences.
What do you mean? Why is that?
Societal expectations.
Oh, you mean because of our
gender? Like,
oh, I got you.
My experience versus your experience is like, and like Katie's experience, like, I could probably, I don't know Katie, at least I don't think I know Katie, but yeah, she's probably not wild anywhere on any platform, but she felt like she had to say that because it was insinuated that she might be wild on another platform, which could really hurt her brand. It could hurt her professionally. And so, and that's really like, it's totally a thing.
No, so, I believe you. I just think that's really interesting to me. Because I'm totally not disagreeing with you. I just want to be clear, right? I don't even think about that. And then you say it and it's like, okay, I can see that. I can also tell you that sometimes that is more of a feminine construct than it is a male construct. Like, I don't care. You just be yourself. I don't give a crap, right? Like, I just want to hang out. It doesn't matter to me, right? I'm not judging you based on anything you post other than unless you can't type. And if you're a bad speller, like if you say loose instead of lose, we're probably not going to be friends. I'm just letting you know. So That's like total pet peeve of mine, right? So, but in all seriousness, I totally get it, right? I totally understand. I think that is the case because some people are very judgmental, but those are people that are clowns anyway offline. So hopefully I'm not letting them in as friends anyway. I mean, that's my belief, right? Because I give people kind of the one strike rule, which is if you're a jackass, I'm giving you the boots. Smell you later, right? I don't even care. I don't care what gender you are or anything, right? So but I get you. I get what you're saying. So that's interesting. So Joanne says she uses acquaintances on Facebook to make sure she posts to more people. So that's pretty cool. And Katie's got I get what you say, Gail. So that's good. And Joanne also doesn't like people who say loose instead of lose. So Joanne, we should start a group for that because I feel like I need therapy about twice a day on this stuff. That drives me nuts. So cool. Awesome. So Christian, anything you want to add, dude?
The only thing I want to add is, this is only for Instagram profiles at the moment. I anticipate at some point maybe they'll have this available for business accounts. But the thing that I want to mention, is you can tier your friends, for example. So if you've got friends that you're very well connected to, you've got your personal updates, and you want them to see those sorts of things, move them into your close friends list. Consider moving some of your customers into your close friends list as well. If they're your super fan, if you're your best customers, the people that are, like your tribe, basically, if they're people that, you want to, share your personal updates with, move them into that close friends list as well. So don't be afraid to kind of mix, the two things together until this does come out for Instagram business profiles.
Cool. Good stuff. So Gail, where do you want to go from here?
I think we need to talk about the Facebook collection thingies.
Facebook collection. So that means we get to send people out to go collect our money. Is that how that works? Is that what it is?
Automate collections. Absolutely.
Awesome. Cool. So if you owe me money, Christian, I'm coming for you, man. I've got Gail. I'm sending Gail to you, buddy. I just want you to know. No, but talk about this, Christian. What's this? Set us up, brother.
So this is actually a pretty cool feature. So even though the title says, hey, it's a new way to share gift ideas on Facebook, it's actually about a lot more than that. So what this is it's basically Facebook collections. You could go and you can create a list. In this case, it could be a list of items that, for instance, like say your kids want something from Santa, you could have a gift list there of items that people, you could go access and you could quickly see what's on that list. But you could also use it from a business perspective. And this is where I really think there's a lot of value. You could, for instance, put together, say you've got a series of videos and you want to have it easy for somebody to share. You can create a public list in that case so that the list is there all the time. You can make it, for instance, private. For example, Phil, we could use it for social chatter. So instead of the current setup, we could make a private collection and put together all the topics we want to talk about or a post from Facebook. It could be Facebook pages, Facebook groups, anything else we want to drop into that Facebook list. And now you have a Facebook collection that we're sharing. So pretty much it's basically a collection list for anything you want to use to share with people on Facebook.
Cool. And it's available. Is this for pages or profiles?
This is available for profiles at the moment, but it does have the feature. But like I said, you could curate pretty much anything you want into this. So you could put together a list of your top favorite, your top pages, for example. If you wanted to make a Facebook collection for that, you could do one for products. You could do things for private things to collect information. So it's basically a catch-all for everything.
Cool. And are they public?
They can be public. They can be private. Yes. So it comes down to however you want to use them. You can invite people, for instance, instead of Gail, instead of us emailing you the list of all the topics or sending them through, say, Facebook Messenger, we could have created a Facebook collection, invited you to that collection, and then had everything there ready for you to be able to go view. Of course, you do have to go to Facebook to do that.
And you can do it just really quick because when someone's hosting a watch party and there was a question as to where they find this.
Mm-hmm. It's on mobile right now. So if you go on mobile under the Facebook app, there's going to be, so if you have the Facebook app, it's going to be under the right-hand hamburger menu. That's the three-bar menu. So if you go there, it's going to be located underneath that. So you'll find it there as well.
Okay.
So
I'm looking. I don't know that I have it yet. So I'm looking at mine. I don't see that. I did do a see more.
Isn't it under? It's not under saved.
Mine was under the hamburger menu yesterday when I tested this.
Right. So hamburger menu, and then you click save.
Now it's saved. Good call. Yeah.
So
now
that's
it's
interesting.
saved.
Okay. Mine was popping right up when I went there yesterday. Good call. Yeah.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
You go under there. It's under the saved option. You're going to have multiple collections at the top. It's super easy to use. I've been using it on mobile. Fantastic. Very easy, very quick. You can search across Facebook as well with this, which I think is going to be very useful. So it's not just all the items you've saved, but you can also then go in and add other items as well. So very useful.
Cool. Cool. That does have a lot of potential. What I'd like to also see is I'd like to see the ability to collaborate. I'd like the ability for, not just on page, but perhaps in my profile where I could invite my family members in to develop a list or something like that. Or I could say, Christian, you and I might have a shared list based on pictures that we have. That could be kind of cool.
You could do some collaboration.
Yeah.
You can add, for example, like right now. Yeah, go ahead.
You can add your friends. They can comment and react. They can add, comment, and react.
Interesting. Cool. That's a great deal.
So I'm actually adding both of you right now. So now you're part of a nice test collections list that I put together here. So you have contributions. Basically, you can contribute to this. Somebody's obviously the master admin. But I see a lot of business potential with this. A lot. Cool. If you do things the right way. Now, the other thing, though, this is going to require people to be organized or to get organized. And to me, I think that's going to be probably the biggest challenge you're going to have with using Facebook collections.
Cool.
A lot of people,
You have to know what buckets you want to use.
Exactly.
I've been using them. I've been using the collections for a while. And because I could save them for save different articles that I wanted to share or send to clients. And I was saving like videos that I wanted to watch later, things I wanted to read. And then I love that we can comment now. I don't remember if that was a thing before, but being able to like remind myself of why I wanted to read the things. But also I personally have at least 2 different brands, possibly 3 different brands. So, curating content for all of that, I see it as a wonderful content curation opportunity that's all native to Facebook. So then when I go back and share it, it's, I love that aspect because for a while, Pages has been wonky. And I couldn't share, if I was in my personal feed, I couldn't share as my legacy recorder page. Like if I was on mobile, so I would save it to a collection of share this to legacy recorder later, because then I could go grab the content later on my desktop and schedule it. So that's how I've been using it from a business perspective.
So I'm going to drop a poll in real quick to everybody that's viewing here. We're going to test this new feature out. This is through BeLive. So are you using Facebook collections? Are you currently using them, or do you think you're going to plan to now that you know what they're about? Give us a quick yes, a quick no. And with that, we'll kind of dive into a little bit more conversation depending on what comes back. So, Phil, what do you think? Yes or no? Are you using collections?
I'm so not organized.
Think you're going to?
I think I might, but I'll tell you straight up, I'm not that organized. I'm not, I don't organize my friends list. I just post. So I'm not that smart. I think there's a lot of potential. I'll probably share with other people how to use that. But for me, yeah, I probably won't. Okay. So although, I do like, somebody said it's a combination of a YouTube playlist and an Amazon wish list. So I think that's great. And I can totally see my mom putting together a group of recipes, because right now she's like, hey, does anybody know where that recipe I shared 3 weeks and 6 months ago? Because I don't see it anymore. It's not on my wall. Yeah, Mom. Hi, you posted 600 other things. Love ya, but it's not there. No kidding, right? So I think
it's sad when they post it as a status and it doesn't actually go to the wall, and trying to explain that, like why you can't find something. It's because it was just an update. It wasn't a wall post. It's like, oh.
Yeah, sad panda. So, yep. So hopefully this helps my mom and other people like that. So I'll probably tell Mom about this. She doesn't watch the show, so I just call her out. She doesn't really care. So, yeah, I mean, I do see potential in this. I love the collaboration aspect that you mentioned, because I have not played with this, truth be told. But I absolutely see the potential for this, and I certainly see how this might go. I mean, this could be really cool, right? Katie's a great baker, and I love to eat food, so I could set up a list for Katie and I to share, and it would be all the food that I love to eat that maybe Katie would make if her husband would be okay with that. So that's how this works, right? So, because I like to eat. So yeah, that's how this might work. That's what I see.
So Monica mentioned, she says no, not using Facebook collections or planning to. I think, from a business perspective, I like the idea of being able to curate, for instance, a lot of, you could, for instance, curate topics. You could have certain pages you want people to join. For example, if you've got, a business and you've got like a service that you offer, you could have that kind of interspersed in the topics that you create in your collection for people to be able to go and, follow along. So like maybe, for instance, there's a series of videos they're watching, and then the last one could be, hey, if you haven't liked our page, or you have people that, if you have people that want to possibly like your page, or you want to share your page out, I'd put that at the end maybe. So I see that there's a lot of potential here with this, especially for businesses. So you kind of have to think about it. You are going to have to get a little personal with people. You're going to have to get people using, being friends with people that are customers, for instance, which there's nothing wrong with that, depending on your tribe. But I think that I like the direction this is going. I do.
Yep, totally agree. So Monica, I'd say play around with this, right? See what you like about it. See what happens. Feel free to play with any of the lists that we're making too.
So where do we want to go next? Brother? I'm going to take this poll down. But where do you want to go next here?
Well, so what do we got? So we've got some. Did we talk about? We didn't talk about LinkedIn yet, did we?
We're basically going in order.
Okay.
We're going what?
We're going in order.
Yeah, we're going in order. Well, that's crazy. So that's all right. So yeah, so we did not. So we have no. If we're going to talk about LinkedIn, there is no official article about this. This is what's interesting. So I'd spend probably more time than anybody I know on LinkedIn trying to figure this stinking thing out. And LinkedIn now is offering the ability to post to your status a document. Now, there's no official blog post on this yet, but I have not, anybody that I've mentioned this to has said that they have it. So if you go to linkedin.com and there's now 3 buttons to share. One is the camera for taking a picture. One is video, and then the third one is document. Now, the interesting thing about document, it says when you open it up, it says custom files. Custom files means there's 3 types that I've seen right now that are available: PDF, Word document, and PowerPoint. It looks like it's built on the SlideShare platform to me, because you can now flip between the slides. So it's really interesting that it does this, but what happens is it's to the public instead of just to a certain group. So what I think is this is testing out, showing us the point drive capabilities with no ability to restrict access to this. So if you post this, it either goes public or it goes from connections. But if I want to just send it to you, Gail, I'd have to use Point Drive, which is a paid feature that you need with Sales Navigator. So this is interesting.
So I have this pulled up, by the way, because I do have this feature. And, here's basically what you get for your options. You get, who can see this. Let's start with the feature, I guess. So basically at the bottom here, you're going to get a document icon. I've already started uploading a PowerPoint file. It's going to pull up basically a snapshot of the file. We're going to get the description that we can go in and add. Now, that description might not be very, I mean, if it's a file, you have to think from an SEO perspective with everything you put in as well. So you're going to want the title, for instance, your SEO, your blog, in this case, your PowerPoint, for SEO purposes. Hey, what is this article about? So that chances are if people are searching, they're going to find that.
You really think that's SEO value? You really think that's going to come up in search?
I think it's going to help. I have a feeling at some point it will, because as you mentioned with the SlideShare part, SlideShare was a fantastic tool for being able to help with from search perspective with bringing up your.
But it's not going to go beyond LinkedIn. I mean, that's the challenge. I bet it doesn't go beyond LinkedIn, which then makes this LinkedIn SEO.
Well, I would say, LinkedIn SEO for right now.
Yeah.
Definitely LinkedIn SEO. But it'll definitely help surface your content. For instance, if you're, descriptive about what, your item is, don't just rely on, for people to read the title. Like, they're going to read the title. But you basically get this, here's your presentation, which is pretty fantastic. It actually is pretty fluid. I'm really surprised at this. Now, in addition to this, though, they also have hashtags at the bottom that they're recommending. So you're going to have the ability to, pick, what hashtags they want you to use. In this case, they're recommending, I think, the last few you've used, possibly. You could put in your description here, and then you can choose who this is going to get shared with. So, for example, Phil, I could see us sharing, for instance, the show like this today. You got public plus, in this case, this is tying into a Twitter account that we had, sharing it with connections. So, in this case, this is sharing it with a bunch of groups that you're part of.
That's who you posted to. So that's interesting. Now the challenge to that, hold on. So I love pizza. Now the challenge is once you upload it, you have to actually pick who you share it with before it finishes uploading. Right. Because otherwise it shares to the public. And as far as your hashtags, it's not the last ones that you've done. It's guessing based on the content in that file. Yeah. So that's really interesting. So now I'm going to close it. Now, let me just close back. I'm looking too here to see.
I'm not cool enough to have it, apparently.
Really? Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, that's very interesting. So, well, you're the first, you're the first person that I've talked to that doesn't have it. So that's really interesting. Now, for me, mine is set to be public only. So that's really interesting that I can only post those files to the public. Start a post. What do I post?
So there's a few things that I'm getting input on from Jenna. She and another girlfriend went to Inbound this past year. And while they were there, they talked about, like, people at Inbound talked about it, and they said the feature blog was going to be available on LinkedIn, which this is what sounds like that's what this is. And her comment was that it would help target for the audience you specifically want to attract for a period of time. So I don't know which specifically feature you're talking about, but possibly with that SEO what you were talking about.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's the promise of who you post to. Now that's interesting because it looks like they removed the ability for me to pick who my audience is. So I like pizza. I'm just checking this out here. On next, there we go. So now it's on my next, which is interesting, and I can even turn off comments. So this is a really interesting feature on LinkedIn. Has great potential. I am curious though how much this actually works. Right.
I like the interactivity here. Like I think that this is I think that it's good to see that they're actually doing more than they previously were doing on LinkedIn. I do wonder, I'm currently trying to test this on mobile actually to see if this will work, because to me, that is where I think it's really important.
Really? So where, not to be funny, where would you save a PDF on your mobile?
So you pull it from Dropbox, you'd pull it from Microsoft.
That's a link. If you post it on Dropbox, it's a link.
Just saying, you've got.
No, I don't. I'm just thinking this through, right? So if you post from Dropbox, it's a link. If you're
using iOS, for instance, you have files. There are Files app, so it could actually upload the file that way.
Okay.
So when I attach an email and when I attach a PDF from Dropbox to an email, it downloads to my phone and actually uploads the attachment for me. So once you share you can share from Dropbox to an app. So I'm wondering with the LinkedIn if it wouldn't do the same thing, like download first and then go. I know Instagram does that when I pull photos out. As long as I'm not trying to do multiple photo layouts. If I'm just pulling one photo, like my phone will actually automatically download it, and I'm on a Android just for reference. But where do they go? It's like downloads or files or something. It does. There's like a spot on your phone, and it is kind of hard to find. That would be good constructive feedback for the Android operating system people.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll confirm right now this does not work on the new LinkedIn upload for documents does not appear on mobile on iOS. So not there yet, unless there's a trick where you have to put a link in.
Nope, I don't see it either. And I'm running test flight, so it's not in any version yet. So yep, interesting. So okay, so this could be interesting for people. I see a lot of potential here for folks. I'm going to do a video and an article about it, and we'll shoot that out next week. If you want to see that, folks, go to socialchefs.com/daily. Christian sends out these awesome emails for you that you can stay on top of this stuff and make sure that you don't miss anything.
So I think we're at the. I think
we're at tool time, brother.
Time.
Tool time.
Yes.
Tool time. Gail, are you up for tool time? Yes. What do you think?
Am I dancing too?
Yes, please dance. Yep. Everybody at home, dance with us. Hey, ho, hey, ho, yeah. So, Gail, left or right, which peanut do you want to pick? Which one do you want?
Oh, I am so excited about Gmass.
Gmass, whoop, whoop, whoop. Christian, bring it up.
Yes. So the first tool that we have for you this week is called Gmass.
Spam your friends and get away with it. Good stuff. So, I mean, not really, no, but it's the old mail merge system here, except in Gmail. Makes it pretty cool for Google Mail or for Google Suite or for Gmail, whatever you call it. It really makes it simple. And truth be told, I've used it, right? But I always test first. The coolest thing about this to me is that it also then tells you, do people open it? How many times do they open it? You get reports on it. It's a slick tool, and it's not super expensive. So, Gail, you said you're excited. Have you played with it, or are you thinking about playing with it?
No, I only heard about it because Christian sent me the list.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's cool. So what's exciting for you?
It's exciting for me. I use Streak right now to track to see if people have opened things and whatnot, and I love like the nudge thing. So I'm excited to see if those features are in Gmass too. But I mean, I've had ConvertKit for a really long time, and I had MailChimp before that, and there's like I have smaller groups of people where I'd really love to be able to send. It's not a mass email because I really only want to email like 10 people, but it would be nice to have like some customization for each one without having to CC or blind CC like the whole group. I'm excited. So I'm gonna dig around and look at it.
Cool.
But I'm pretty excited about it.
Cool. Christian, what about you, bud?
I like the idea of this. I really do. I, again, use other email services, but this is, a very useful tool, I think. I think overall it's what, a Google Chrome extension, right?
Yep, it's a Chrome extension.
So, Google Chrome extension, it's what, like, how much was this? I'm trying to remember how much this one was.
10, 12, 15 bucks, not much. Yeah.
Yeah, it says it's $12.95 per month. I am curious though, like how are they going to abide by the GDPR stuff and like all the things that we have to do when we have like MailChimp and ConvertKit and all those things and all the things we're supposed to abide by? Like, are they going to like get around it because it's Google, or like what's that part I'm concerned about, because then our Gmail address is then going to get blacklisted by other platform or other email processing things. I don't have the right words, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, so great question. So
what's the ramification?
Not an official Google tool.
Okay.
Let's be clear. This is a hack. This is not a real thing.
It.
Second of all, remember the worry is about CAN spam or about Castle, not about GDPR, because GDPR is actually storage, remember, not opt-out.
Right.
Okay, so no concern there. If I have you in my contact list, you have it there. You can upload and send a mass mail merge. That being said, it only allows so many per day. So to your question about is it going to turn Gmail into a spam bot, the good news is you only get so many messages per day. And the good side is it does. I've used it. If as long as you write a good email, it doesn't show up in the promotions tab.
Okay.
So that being said, it's kind of a ninja trick, but you still have to write good email. But it helps you write better email because it'll actually scan that ahead of time for is it spammy or not. And if it is, then you better rewrite it. Now, if it's not, your shit's going to get marked as spam anyway.
Right.
So I actually, to your point, Gail, I use it like you do, or like you were talking about with 10, 12, 15 people. I don't recommend any tool for 200 people at a time.
Right.
Definitely. You know, and again, I mean, like you mentioned, it's a bit of a ninja hack. So, you know, it's, you know, again, I mean, if you're a user and you're spamming people, for instance, like it doesn't matter what platform you're using, you're going to get marked as spam anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So you do have to keep that in mind.
Yep. And Google will shut you down faster than any other service because, to your point, Google does not, because they will flag the whole Google IP range.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So Google is going to be really clear that if you're getting close to their limits, they're going to shut you down.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Definitely.
Good question. So Christian, in my other hand, what's the other tool time?
The other tool is Screencastify. And we talked about screen sharing last week. We talked about it again this week as well, because here's the thing. There are lots of different, you know, tools available on the market to be able to do screencasts. You know, everybody needs to record their screen to some extent. You know, in this case, this is, you were telling me about this one as well, but this is another Google Chrome extension. You know, they're the #1 screen recorder for Chrome, apparently. But basically, you know, it's super easy to use. Let me see if I can find a quick little video to show you how easy it is. So Phil, while I'm pulling this up, you want to tell everybody about Screencastify. Ah, we dropped Phil. Hold on.
I cannot speak to it, so I don't know.
Phil, welcome back. Welcome back. Phil, you still there? Okay. I can't tell if he's frozen, but that is a pretty awesome freeze, I think. If he did that. Look at that. There we go. That was pretty good.
Am I here? Am I not here?
Yes, you're here. Yes.
All right, cool. So I'm live. Excellent. So, hey, so Screencastify, one of my favorite tools. Screencastify allows you to record your screen and your little face for about $15 a month, or $15 a year. I mean, super cheap tool, super cheap, super easy. What I love about it, also in addition to that, I can pick whether it's just my camera, just something else, or, and here's the cool part, it allows me to save to Google Drive or to my YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was going to say YouTube.
I think he was going to say, yes. I think he was going to say direct upload
Come
to
on!
YouTube. Okay.
Christian,
I promise.
Come on, man.
I got to talk to our producers behind the scenes, see what's going on there. Man. No. But
no. So yeah, so it can Google Drive and YouTube. And you can make it an unlisted video right from the tool.
Mm-hmm. Very good tool. Again, how much did you say it was? It's what? There's a free version, and then there's a paid version. I think it's what? $24 a year, billed annually. That's what? $2 a month. So,
if I'm gonna sell, because we do website design sometimes. If I'm gonna sell a website, I might go through and just talk about their website. And here's 6 things I see that you could do better. And of course, most people say, wow, dude, that's a lot of stuff. Could you do that for me? And the answer is absolutely, I will. If you write me a check, I will fix your website. So it's pretty simple. For $24 a year, it's an awesome tool.
And that's going to get you unlimited recording length. It's going to get you an unlimited number of videos. You get editing as well. You get no watermark. You get the ability to export your file to MP4 or even an animated GIF. By the way, the GIF part to me is even worth it for $24 a year. And the reason being is because there are tools out there that, you know, they help you create animated GIFs, but the files are huge. And we're talking about an animated GIF here. You know, I've got a couple of tools that, you know, they create 60, 70 megabyte files. I guess, wow, doesn't want Phil to, either we're saying something that it doesn't like, or not sure, Phil, but you know, what I was getting at was that, you know, the GIF part to me is a really useful feature because, hey, I can create animated GIFs that are not huge files. So I think that this is a very useful tool for that alone.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you know, you have to have a separate app, and it doesn't usually do a good job at creating a GIF or making a screen, you know, a screen capture, for instance, screen recording. Yeah. So you get the best of both worlds here. Gail, what do you think? Do you use anything currently, or would you use this?
So I've been using Loom, and before that, I was
Mm-hmm.
using, gosh, it was old. I can remember the logo, but they like I don't know that they're completely gone. I have Movavi downloaded. But I've been really enjoying Loom, and yeah, I mean, this looks exciting. I mean, I like the animated GIF part and being able to export, because I don't know that you can export from Loom. But I've used Loom for the client stuff just because it's easy. It's a link. You don't have to download anything. They don't have to upload anything. And it's a real nice, easy way to do it. And I don't think there's a limit on recording length for that either.
Yep. So you got lots of options, actually. Lots and lots of options.
Yeah, there's a ton. And Loom's free. So
yeah. Yep. We talked about that, I think, what was it, two shows ago, Phil? I think 3 shows.
Yeah, a couple shows ago.
Yeah.
Yep. Loom is great too, right? Screencastify is fun. I use both because sometimes one doesn't work for whatever reason. So I always like to have at least one backup.
Exactly. And the thing I like about either of these tools is that, you know, the thing that they help you with the most is, as Gail mentioned, you don't have to download files and then upload them and that sort of stuff. It makes it very seamless. And I think, you know, we talked about this at the beginning of the show. We talked about, you know, being nimble. And, you know, that's the same thing here, you know, with these tools. You want tools that are going to help you be nimble. They don't need to be so complicated that you've got to get a manual out to understand how they work. You know, you just want to get the job done. You want to do a professional job and you want to ship it. You know, so definitely check this one out as well. So that brings us to the end of the show. You know, I will have a blog post recap that goes out tomorrow for you all. You can get that by going to socialchefs.com/daily. But Gail, where can people find you? I know we talked about this at the beginning of the show. Phil he might not even be aware that you have additional Twitter accounts, but where can people find you?
So if you type in Legacy Recorder, I pull up on Google for that. You can also type my first and last name and I pull on Google for that. But I would start with thelegacyrecorder.com and go from there. It's got everywhere you could possibly want to go. And it's a really good starting point. So
we've got Gail Gilliland, Legacy Recorder, for those of you who are watching the replay of this. Phil, anything, it's been a pleasure having you on tonight. Gail, thank you so much for joining, bringing your knowledge, by the way. I know before the show, you know, we were a little nervous. We're talking about, you know, some of the different topics, but hey, I got to say you did a fantastic job. Enjoyed having you on this show this week. Definitely looking forward to having you back as well, if time permits, you know, for your schedule. So thank you very much. Phil, anything you want to say or anything you want to wrap up with?
Well, I just want to say, holy cow, like we covered a ton of stuff. Gail, you're a freaking rock star. Thank you for playing with us tonight and for having a good sense of humor and for bringing your friends. 82 comments. Holy cat curspers. That is awesome. Usually it's Christian and me talking to ourselves, so we're really grateful for you.
Me, I bring the party.
That's woo-woo. So, Gail Gilliland, woo-woo-woo-woo. So that's really cool. So we're grateful for you and for everybody who's watching. We're just delighted that you're here. If you want to make sure you get the recap, again, at socialchefs.com/daily. To all of you that watch each and every week, we are grateful for you. And we'll see you next week, same bat time, same bat channel. Christian, who's our guest? Do we know?
We are going to have AJ Wilcox on next week.
AJ Wilcox, LinkedIn genius, another redhead, Gail.
All right, then.
Just saying. So we're on fire.
Yeah, so we're going to have... We're going to have AJ on next week, another friend of mine as well, LinkedIn expert, as Phil mentioned, but it should be a great show. But we will see you all next week, same time, socialchefs.com/be live. Have a great evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.